Hello and welcome to another crochet tutorial video. My name's Jen. If you're new here, welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to make these velvet drawstring gift bags, and I've actually got two different ways to do this depending on how you like it to sit. So for both ways we're going to start out the same. If you're curious, I am using this Yarn Bee Velvety Smooth Aran weight yarn. I don't know what it is about Yarn Bee, but their skeins have consistently been giving me yarn vomit recently, so be aware of that. I've been working with these for a while and they don't seem to shed too bad. If whenever you trim them, you just make sure you kind of pinch off the loose bits at the end, and then they seem to do fine. So for both ways, we're going to start off the same, making your loop and chaining 3. Then I'm going to slip stitch to join. Chain 1 and do 2 single crochets into each chain for 3 rounds. If you want to use a stitch marker, you can. I usually don't. I just sort of like pay attention and look at it as it spirals from the center. So you can kind of see where it spirals from the center. 1, 2. So now I'm going to, instead of increasing or putting 2 single crochets in each stitch, I'm going to do 1 single crochet in 1, 1 single crochet in 2, and then 2 in the 3rd. So I'll be increasing every 3rd stitch for 2 more rounds. So once we're at this point, I'm now going to start doing my increase every 5 stitches instead of every 3. And I'm going to do this until I reach 50 chains around. Okay, so for the first way, the bag is going to kind of sit like this. We're just going to continue going up. So we're going to stop doing any increases, and you're going to keep going until you add 16 rounds. So if it helps for counting purposes, just throw in a couple of stitch markers so that you know where you stopped increasing and where to count the 16 from. Okay, once we've reached our 16 rows, I will usually just do a couple of slip stitches in the next 2 chains to kind of even it out. Now we're ready to do the top detail. So I'm going to chain 2, then do 2 half double crochets into the same chain. That original chain is going to count as 1 stitch, so there's 3 stitches in one chain. Then I'll slip stitch into the next chain, then do 3 half double crochets into the next. This creates like a little fan shape or a little ruffle. Slip stitch into the next. And I'm just going to repeat that all the way around, doing 3 half double crochets in one, and then slip stitching into the next. All right, so once I have finished, I'm going to trim off the end. Try to get the loose bits off. I have heard, I'm kind of new to velvet yarn, but I have heard some people have said very carefully that they will take a lighter to it. I would probably play it safe and just use like some fray lock or some glue to keep it from continuing to fray, but I will weave that in later. So now all that's left to do is to make the drawstring. So for that, I am just going to make another loop and chain 50. Then all we're going to do is just pick a starting point that you want to be the front and go just underneath, not in the chains of the row that you did the ruffling, but the row below. And start feeding the drawstring through. I'm not like super accurate about counting out stitches that I do this through. It's probably like 4 or 5. Then once I've got it woven all the way through, make sure my ends are even. Tie a knot in the bottom. I'll probably trim these a little shorter and then put some glue on them to keep them from fraying, but I do leave them there a little bit, and then you can cinch up your bag. So that's version 1. For version 2, you start the same way and do your circle for the bottom, but once you hit 50 chains, you're going to stop and cut it off. I usually do a couple of slip stitches to even it out once again. Then set that aside. Then we're going to make the body part of the bag separately and then stitch it on after the fact. So I will chain 50. Chain an extra one, then single crochet down the row and continue to single crochet back and forth until I hit 15 rows. We're only doing 15 for this one because when you do the continuous base, like I accounted for this curve, so that's why we do 16 rows for this one, but if you're attaching the sides separately, I only do 15. Okay, once we've got our 15 rows, we're going to do the exact same thing for the sort of ruffly top that we did of the first version. I'm going to chain 2 and turn. That counts as 1 stitch, so I'm going to do 2 more half double crochets in the same stitch, slip stitch into the next one, there we go, 3 in the next, slip stitch, and repeat that to the end of the row. Okay, so once I've completed that final row, I'm going to slip stitch to join. Then I'm going to slip stitch down the sides. Okay, once I've come to the end of the project, I'm going to flip it inside out. So that way that seam is on the inside of the bag. Then I'm going to grab my circle. And start slip stitching around the edge of the bag. I want to make sure that as I'm slip stitching, I am just going through the top loops of the chain. If I go through both like you normally would, it's gonna make the bag pucker like this, which is fine, but if you prefer that it looks a little more flush like this, you want to just make sure you're going through one loop of each crochet stitch. Once I've gotten back to the other end, all I have to do is snip it off, weave in the ends, and then do the same thing for the drawstring. And now the bags are finished. Personally, I like doing the bottom separate a little bit. I like the structure to it. I think it sits a little nicer, but they both look good in the end. And these are really quick and easy. I think they take like an hour to an hour and a half to finish, and you can do 2 of them with a skein with just a little bit left over. So they're great for gifts. I made a bunch of these for some gifts for something coming up, so they're quick and easy and fun to use, and I think they just look so like pretty and luxurious. If you like this video and you want to see more from me, feel free to subscribe. I do crochet content at least once a month, and I've got a bunch coming up in the next couple of months here that I'm really excited about. So subscribe for more. Thank you so much for watching this one, and I'll see you next time.